My name's Ailene FARKAC. I've lived in Oregon about over 30 years. I came from New York originally, and I've lived in Portland about 7 years. What brought me to Coffee Creek was a 20-year addiction to opiates, and in the last 5-ish years of that addiction, a real bad addiction to cocaine. I'd never been arrested prior to the 3 incidents that culminated in 36 months at Coffee Creek. I was in the first community of the new LIFT program at Coffee Creek. A month into the program, they came to us one day with a piece of paper that had an entire calendar, like 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. marked on this page and said, what should we do with the day? There were 50 women in the group, and my first thought was, wouldn't it be cool if everybody here left with a GED? What if we paired the people who have taken this test with people who are studying to take the test? And we did it, and people ended up earning their GED before they left, before the end of the 6 months. I was lucky to release to Lane County, and Lane County has a program called Sponsors. It's a program that you release to that is structured. You are expected to get a job within 30 days, and I think the most surprising thing was how little support there was. I got out in 2009, and back then when you Googled reentry, you got re-entering the atmosphere from space. There was no reentry services. There was, Lane County was a pioneer in this field of providing reentry services for folks. I got out the Friday before Thanksgiving. The following Monday, I started working at Wendy's. It was brutal. Working in fast food at 40-something years old was not easy. I had some pretty decent jobs before I went to prison, and starting in fast food, which is what everybody told me was pretty much my only option, was really hard. I knew that giving back was going to be the key to me not returning to prison, so I started volunteering at the detox facility in Eugene, started showing up there and volunteering, and I said to them, I'm going to keep coming here until you guys hire me. And they eventually hired me, but it wasn't full time, so now I was working at Wendy's and working at the detox. In the spring, somebody said to me, if you go to school, you can get out of Sponsors and use the financial aid to rent your own apartment, which is exactly what I did. I didn't know anything about returning to school. I just knew I was living at Sponsors with 2 of my kids in one room. So I was working 2 jobs. I signed up to go to school. I started going to school. I started going to the community college, and I thought I wanted to study ethnic studies. Actually, I thought I wanted to do what every recovering addict does and go into some kind of addictions counseling. And I met a professor in my first year at Lane Community College who wrote at the top of my paper, there's a lot of ways of giving back. You don't have to be a drug and alcohol counselor. And I was so relieved to hear that. I went for 1 year, and the following winter term at Lane Community College, I got an invitation to the Honors College at Portland State. I didn't even realize that I was doing well in school. I really didn't. I didn't realize I was getting all A's, and that anybody would notice. I didn't know what it meant to be on the dean's list, I was recommended for scholarships, and I would just apply to them, and I started winning them. So when I got to PSU, I wanted to study ethnic studies. My first term at PSU, I took a Black Studies class. I met the chair of the Black Studies department, and I enjoyed him so much, and I enjoyed the Black Studies classes so much that he explained to me there is no ethnic studies program at PSU, but this is what we do have. And that's how that happened. I ended up earning 2 degrees at PSU, a social science degree and a Black Studies degree, and I just completed a Master Social Work degree. Thank you. Going to college, really, I developed a love of learning that I didn't have prior. You know, I think I'm PhD bound. I think I have a dissertation in me, and this year is 10 years since I got out, and I if you would have asked me 10 years ago, I never would have thought that I would be PhD bound 10 years later. In my second to last term, winter term, I was contacted by Deb Smith-Arthur. She is a current PSU professor, former criminal defense attorney. She's been teaching at PSU for 15 years. She had been trying to provide services to current and formerly incarcerated students on campus at PSU. We started meeting regularly, and I said, why don't I do an independent study, and we'll just start this program that way, and we can start seeing students on campus who have this in their background and need our support. Without trying, people just started showing up. The fact that everybody was so interested in what we were talking about was really inspiring. We're calling it the RTP, reversing the school to prison pipeline. When we talk about the school to prison pipeline, we prepare students, and particularly students of color, to go to prison more than we prepare them to go to college. What if we prepared students in high school for college rather than prison? And what if we offered some type of support services to the people who want to further their education post-prison and they don't want to go back? Okay, some of the themes that I run into are shame. People don't want to share that they're formerly incarcerated, so they don't ask for help and then they don't receive the help that they need. That's one. Another theme is a lack of preparation. If a person gets out and they're really excited to go to school and they register right away, they have a tendency to not make sure that they're stable in these other areas. So as soon as the car breaks down the first time and they miss a class and then they miss an assignment and then they don't know how to go to the teacher and ask for help, if a person can make it past that first term, they have such a better chance of succeeding. There are some positive themes also. A lot of the people who showed up were people who had been to prison and are about to graduate at PSU, or they want to come work at the RTP. They want to help give back. They recognize that giving back is something that keeps people clean and sober. It's very healing for people who have made bad choices in their lives. Giving back is a really important component of recovery in general. Recently, I saw themes of success and people who are really excited to be at the end of their education journey and about to, look for a real job, not a Wendy's job, not a cleaning puke at the detox center job, but, a job that feeds their soul. You could edit out puke if you want. The reason why I think higher ed's so important particularly for this community is I did not know what I was passionate about when I got out of prison. I didn't know what I was passionate about before I went to prison, which is probably one of the things that led me there. Nobody ever asked me, what do you love to do? And, if you weren't thinking about money, how would you spend your time? And I ask everybody who comes to my desk, if you didn't have to think about, the rent and the bills and food and all that, what do you love to do? I heard all the time that I'd never thought about it before. When you get through your first term of school, I've seen this. When people get through their first term of school, they are ignited. They're ready to go. They completed a term of college, and the very few reentry programs we have in the state, the ones that they talk about, the ones where they see successes, are the ones where education's involved. The changes that need to happen at Oregon prisons, like immediately, is we have to incorporate some form of education in there. Let me start with Coffee Creek. We're the one women's prison in the state. There are no pathways to degrees at Coffee Creek. I would like to see education in all of the prisons in the state. We are creating a space in Oregon where people are set up to fail and not set up to succeed. What would it look like starting a college, an education pathway from inside, and then continue to support them once they're out? The whole time I was in prison, I remember saying, my kids are my highest priority. And I remember the day that I realized that my actions weren't matching my words. Because if my kids were my highest priority, I wouldn't have been sitting in there. So I think today, my greatest achievement is that I was able to become clean and sober and become a better role model for my kids. When my granddaughter smiles, that's when I feel happy. I feel happy when I see others who care about people and are willing to do something about that.